Hi, it's Michael Vandenham, and on today's training tips, I'm going to talk about riding sand and really any other loose and soft surface. So, if you're racing cross, you may have a couple races a year that have the dreaded sand pit in them. If you walk away with only two things, I hope they're this. 1, vision forward, and 2, light hands on the bars. The biggest mistakes I see people make when they're riding sand is they get fixated on the stuff that they don't want to hit or the places where they don't want to go. For example, if you're coming into a sand pit and there's ruts everywhere, it's really easy to get fixated on everything around the rut, the places where you don't want to go, and to really try and control the bike with a firm grasp on the bars. But the reality is, you actually want to be looking through the rut to the exit of where you want to go. And one of the things that helps you do that is having the light grip on the bars. It's important to remember that ruts can be unpredictable, but you have to just let your bike go where it wants to go. That means a light grip on the bars and sitting a little bit further back on the saddle. This is a hard skill to master. So I'd recommend going out to a volleyball court, going out to somewhere that you have that has some sand, and just practicing letting the bike go where it wants to go and trusting the rut. Trusting that that rut or that section is going to take you where you need to, and trusting that having your vision pointing out of the sand pit is going to guide your momentum forward to that place. Now you might be going, hey, there's not usually ruts in the sand pits that I ride. And that's okay. If you have your vision forward, you might jump from rut to rut. There might be no ruts at all, but just that is going to help you keep going where you need to go. Also, when I think about steering in the sand, I think about steering with my rear wheel and my hips as much as with my arms. Again, you have to let that front wheel go, but you can guide the bike a little bit with where your vision goes and where your hips go, and by extension, how you push that rear wheel around. So, when you're coming into a sand section, you might notice that it's really hard to gain any momentum. And if you go and watch a race like Coxida, you'll see pretty quickly that going into those sand bits, people are accelerating into them. And that's because it's much easier to accelerate on hard, firm packed ground than it is in the sand. So if you're looking at cross, remember, it's not a time trial, it's a series of accelerations to make you go around the course as fast as possible. That applies to sand. If you can put in that little bit of extra effort before you hit the sand section, it's going to make that section easier and you're going to go faster. Compare that to coming in at a slow, consistent pace. You have to do more work when you hit that soft ground. That's less efficient. The other thing you might notice is it's easier to ride sand if you're coming in slightly over-geared. If you're spinning a lot, you'll find that you might get bogged down and it's hard to control the bike. Try coming in a little bit of a heavier gear. If that sounds like a lot of stuff, you're not wrong. So what I want you to do is go out and practice these things, but practice only 1 or 2 at a time. Come in and say, all I'm working on this time is keeping my vision forward and my hands light. And once you feel like you've started to master that skill, then you can add more and more things on. Because let's face it, that's too much stuff to remember one shot. But if you build it up slowly, those other skills are going to become automatic and you'll be able to master riding sand. And of course, doesn't mean you're not going to crash. Even the best riders fall over every now and then. But in my mind, crashing in something like sand is a sign that you're pushing it to the limits and that you're learning from those opportunities. Thanks for joining me today. Hope to see you next time on Training Tips.